And now this is some very big news coming in at this hour. Vijay Mallya being arrested in London. That is the news that has just come about a short while back. The beleaguered businessman who has been residing in the United Kingdom for months now has been arrested in London. We're just awaiting more details. He does face a lot of cases here in India, and now we are hearing Vijay Mallya finally being arrested in London. Okay, so this is some big news that has just come about a short while back, with Vijay Mallya facing multiple houses. Just very recently, his Kingfisher house was sold. Most of his luxurious properties, his cars, have already been put on sale by a consortium of banks. He has been in London for quite a while now, and we're hearing that Vijay Mallya has now been arrested in London. We're just waiting for more details on this big breaking news that has just come about a short while back. Not just bankers, in fact, there are many other agencies who have been demanding the return of Vijay Mallya, who has been in London for quite some time following the debacle of the Kingfisher Airlines. We're also getting details just trickling in right now that he is going to be taken to the court after his arrest, after the news of his arrest just came about. And we are just awaiting more details on this huge case, on this huge news that has come about his arrest in London. In fact, there has been a demand for his extradition. The government has even been in touch with authorities in the United Kingdom for his extradition. The request that has been made to Britain, and now we are hearing that he is being taken to Westminster Court. That's the news that has just come out a short while back after his arrest in London. The government, in fact, in Parliament had been giving an assurance to the opposition that all necessary steps will be taken to ensure that the liquor baron Vijay Mallya, who's accused of loan default and other huge number of financial irregularities, will be brought back to India. That was the assurance that was given by the government to the opposition. So trouble there mounting for Vijay Mallya, who has now been arrested in London and has been taken to Westminster Court. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs had even passed on the request for the embattled businessman's extradition to the UK High Commission earlier on. Are we seeing the news of his arrest? Is it a result of that, with the External Affairs Ministry passing on the request of his extradition to the UK High Commission? I'm just going to go straight across now to Divina Gupta for more details and updates. Divina, this is huge news. This is big news about Vijay Mallya's arrest in London. Tell us more.
Absolutely, Avantika. For the initial reports that are coming in right now, is Vijay Mallya, who had fled from India in March last year, has now been arrested. From the initial reports that we're getting, he was, according to sources, picked up by Scotland Yard, and this is the news that is coming from London. He was picked up from London morning time, and remember, he's been absconding and he's accused of being a loan defaulter for defrauding banks for over 9,000 crore rupees, and this means a major boost and a shot in the arm for the Indian investigating agency who've been pressing for extradition of Vijay Mallya. Remember, Vijay Mallya has been living in London all this while in his plush villa as well, but
yes,
we've not heard from the London investigative agencies on what will be the next step to prosecute him. But this move, which is coming ahead of a big news, we're looking at the moment, also trying to get a reaction from the Finance Ministry at this point of time, that how it will press for Vijay Mallya's extradition. Request has already been raised with the UK government, remember, and it is going to be a big shot in the arm. I'm trying to get more reactions on this story.
I can understand, the news is just trickling in, but he was officially declared an absconder. He is wanted by a consortium of banks. He is, a person who himself, was quite active on social media, Davina, saying that he's no absconder, he's not going to escape the law of the land, and has been in constant talks with various banks as well. And most recently, his luxurious Kingfisher Mallya also, being sold off. So many of his assets here in India has now been put under the hammer, has been put up for sale as well. And now this big news coming in of his arrest in London will be a huge boost to the investigating agencies and for the government as well, isn't it, Davina?
Absolutely, Avantika, there is no doubt about it. Once known as King of Good Times, he had not only hoodwinked the public sector banks but also private banks in trying to pump in money to his now defunct Kingfisher Airlines. He's been wanted as well.
Davina, just stay with me, please, if I may interrupt. I have the lawyer Vijay Mallya, Sujay Kantawala, now on the phone line on the broadcast. So thanks so much for speaking to us. Just tell us more about this bit of information we have received. Can you just please give us some details? We're hearing that your client, Vijay Mallya, has been arrested and is being taken to Westminster Court.
See, first of all, let me clarify. I'm not his lawyer.
Okay.
I'm not his lawyer, but as a lawyer, I'm giving you my inputs.
Okay.
One should not start jumping on the rooftops at the arrest of Vijay Mallya. We don't. He may be released on bail. And what is important is whether the Indian government is going to now take this opportunity and pursue the extradition proceedings. Because there is a procedure established under the law. They will have to seek formal permissions, and then only they will be able to extradite him. Although, of course, the Indian agencies would be very happy with this, and it would set a precedent also for other absconders who are fleeing away from justice. But
Sir, so just explain to us then,
what kind of...
So in legal terms, sir, just explain to us, after multiple warrants against him, after he being proclaimed an offender, and now with this arrest, does it become easier for India with regards to his extradition case? How really will this be helpful to the Indian agencies?
See, there are many cases pending against him. They are at the stage of trial or before trial. He has not been convicted as such. Now,
yes.
you have to see the role which Interpol plays in these kind of things. There is a charter of laws which applies in cases of extradition, and they have to first see what kind of a coroner notice has been issued. Thereafter, they have to take the permission of the Home Ministry in UK, and it is the case which I believe of Mr. Mallya that he fears that in India possibly he may not be able to get fair justice. So therefore, let us see how the court first of all grants him bail, puts conditions on him. In case his passport, whichever country passport he's carrying these days, is impounded, then it may be difficult for him to leave UK. So one has to see whether this is an actual ploy or actually it is a matter of design, or whether he has been arrested due to serious, genuine efforts. One has to see as the days pass, we will realize.
Okay. But if his passport, indeed is impounded by the courts in Britain, won't that be even more tougher for the Indian agencies to get him back to India?
Yeah, because his Indian passport is already gone.
True.
As far as it has already been impounded. He obviously is using the passport of another country, and he has already been an NRI for many years. So he has got such residential status in the UK. Now all these factors will have to be considered, because you just cannot extradite somebody and take him away in handcuffs and put him on the next flight. There are rules which apply, and therefore one has to see as to how and on what basis the Indian agencies are going to take advantage of the situation.
Okay.
And unless the papers are available on what basis he has been arrested, one would not be able to actually comment on the seriousness of the charge on what he is arrested in UK for.
Okay, interesting point there, Sujoy, that you make. Just stay on with me. Let me also get in India Today's Lavina Tandon joining us from London. Lavina, tell us more. This is big news of Vijay Mallya's arrest. He's been arrested, I hear, by the Scotland Yard. He's been taken also to court. Tell us more.
Indeed, it is a humongous news. It seems like he has been taken in for money laundering. It will be presented in the court later in the day. And that's all. The Scotland Yard has not come up with further details on exactly where and what. But eventually, across the day, we will get to know more. But that is definitely confirmed that he has been arrested and will be presented in the court.
Now, the Ministry of External Affairs here, Lavina, have also demanded his extradition. They have made a very, a very serious case against him. There are multiple cases against him. There are multiple charges against him. And so it'll be interesting. Will the court be, recognizing India's concern? Will it be looking into all of those charges that India has made against the embattled businessman?
I think the court will look at, and I'm going to talk about the practice.
Okay.
The court is going to look at what the case he's been arrested for. I do not, all the other evidences that have been presented by India, if they have been submitted to the Home Office to that effect, that can be taken into consideration by the lawyer who's the prosecutor and the defense. But I do not think they can be tried for the cases that India is wanting them for. That India has to do it straight away, but, on their own back. But these cases could add up to the case of what he has been taken in for.
Tell me something, Lavina, just why has he been arrested? Have you received any information, anything that you're hearing from your sources?
As I mentioned earlier, this is for money laundering. Money laundering is a very serious offence in the UK, a serious financial irregularity offence. And the details on that I would be able to confirm a little bit later. But it seems like it's a case of money laundering.
All right. So you will still wait for a confirmation of the same. But Lavina, they're saying that it is a case of money laundering. I have with me on the phone line Nalin Kohli from the BJP. Nalin, good afternoon and thanks so much for joining us. Multiple warrants. India has already declared him a proclaimed offender. This is big news. Vijay Mallya's arrest and him being taken to, Westminster Court. Will India take advantage of this and, press the United Kingdom for his extradition?
Whatever happens has to be under the law that functions in terms of an international wanted person.
True.
In this case, one will have to also bear in mind that most probably the arrest would be of Scotland Yard. Because UK police would be required to look at only crimes that may be within the precincts of the UK jurisdiction. So therefore, one would need to also wait for that confirmation. The arrest has been done by whom? Is it Scotland Yard or is it...
We are hearing it's been done by Scotland Yard.
So if it is Scotland Yard, then it means that it would be logically expected in terms of something who is being looked as a fugitive, as a person who is being seen as a fugitive across the borders of the UK. And since India has issued warrants, the matter is before the courts here. In that sense, he's been absconding. And in terms of the notices that have been issued by the government of India, this would be, this would possibly be, could be, an action under those notices. So we need to wait to see till what the full details come. The larger question, of course, is, as far as the government is concerned, it has consistently been saying that anyone who's absconding, who has run away after defrauding banks, is going to be liable to, and all efforts will be made to bring them back to the book, so that action can be taken under the existing laws here.
Absolutely. Nalin Kohli there. Thank you so much. We also have with us Vijay Rana, BBC correspondent. Vijay, thanks so much for speaking to us. Huge news coming in and more trouble for Vijay Mallya. His arrest making news in India already, who has already been declared an absconder by the Prevention of Money Laundering Act here in India. On what charges have the Scotland Yard arrested him?
Well, it's too early to say at this point of time because Scotland Yard will they take their own time to make a proper statement. In fact, normally they don't name the person unless some concrete steps have been taken. So it's a bit early because the news have just broken a few minutes ago. So we will have to wait for a while, I think.
Okay, but anything else that you're hearing? All that we know that, the arrest has been made by the Scotland Yard. He's been taken to Westminster Court. Do you have any more information as to when exactly did it take place? Did the Scotland Yard arrive at his residence? He has been residing in London for quite some time now.
Yes, it's true, and we, as far as we know, that there have been a lot of pressure being exerted on the British government by the government of India.
Yes.
Because this has been happening too frequently in Britain. Vijay Mallya is not the only one. There have been few others, So in this case, the government was quite serious. This is what we know, and the High Commission in the past have made it very clear that that they have the intention and they have the will, and they will take this matter quite seriously. But this is quite surprising because it's not very easy for and the British government normally doesn't take note of all these fugitives.
So what surprises you then?
Because he's such a big fish. He's quite influential, and he couldn't get recourse in the British courts because he could use his money and muscle power to delay his arrest, or he just couldn't, he couldn't escape this time. This is surprising.
Okay. All right, Vijay, I'm going to come back to you, once you get in some more details on this high-profile arrest. Sujoy is with us as well, a noted lawyer. Sujoy, the Interpol, turned down the Enforcement Directorate's request for a red corner notice against Vijay Mallya. In fact, the Interpol there sending in some more queries. But at the same time, parallelly, the consortium of banks also rejected his debt repayment loan plan. Thus putting in more pressure on him. I just want to understand that, with multiple cases issued against him, he has been accused of financial irregularities. How does it work in Britain? Do they take cognizance of all of those, complaints registered against him, or is this something that they will do on their own? They will study those cases and those charges in their own capacity under their own legal system?
See, this reminds me of the classic case of Charles Sobraj. Charles Sobraj himself got arrested on some small flimsy ground because he didn't want to be extradited to a country where he was facing a graver charge and where he would possibly get a capital punishment. So there are ways and means by which absconders don't want to go back to the country and face justice, because here assurances were given to the highest court of the land. Assurances were given that, I would pay back in installment. Then he started putting conditions. So, and then now his aircrafts have been auctioned, his houses have been auctioned. So, basically, he has nothing great to come back. So, I see, one will have to see as the time passes by, what is the actual application made in the local court to arrest him? Under what provision of law he has been arrested and what he has violated. Because if he has violated some act or some law, which is local over there, then possibly the local laws would spring into action.
So let me just get in Lavina here. Please stay with me, Sujoy. Let me also get Lavina here. So Lavina, do we have any information? I do understand that, this is big breaking news. Before I come to you, Lavina, let me also get in a quick word from the senior BJP leader, Mr. Subramaniam Swamy. Dr. Swamy, thank you so much for speaking to India today. I just want to understand from you, here's a man, he's one of the most famous defaulters in India, a flamboyant businessman who has been residing in the United Kingdom. But what happens next? I fail to understand that why this arrest has been made in the first place by Scotland Yard, and under what provisions of law this arrest would have been made. Will they study all of those charges that India has made against him in their own capacity, under their own legal system, sir?
Essentially, the Enforcement Directorate report.
Yes.
And the retrorogatory that we wrote. Retrorogatory usually means that we ask the court of another country to help.
Yes, yes.
So one of the London courts must have directed the Scotland Yard to arrest him and keep him. And then, of course, he's allowed one appeal. But the mere fact that the matter has gone so far means that the British government also, which is the prosecutor in this case for this matter, this limited matter, the British is on our side, and they would like to see him go. I think this signals something very good for the country, because it will mean that all these people who have been running away now will know that there is no escape.
Is there actually no escape for him, sir? I do know that the government has been giving the assurance repeatedly in Parliament to the opposition that he will be brought back, with the Ministry of External Affairs also passing on the request for his extradition to the United Kingdom High Commission. But then we had been hearing that it is very tough to get him back. He can use his, muscle power, his influence to stall any legal proceedings against him.
Well, see, ultimately it depends on the British conviction that we are serious about it. And I think there is a new mood. Our Prime Minister has now told the Enforcement Directorate and CBI to not to listen to any ministerial interference and to on any conclusion to directly get it cleared at the level of perhaps the PMO. And I think this is why the results are coming. You see, after all, for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, Mr. Chidambaram matter was pending. It was in fact pending since 2012. It's only now that action has begun, and that shows a new determination of Mr. Modi that he thinks that he has now demonstrated enough on governance and he must now move to anti-corruption. And the Enforcement Directorate has done a very professional job.
Right. Right, Mr. Subramanian Swamy, for now, thanks so much. But Lavina, coming to you, what else are you hearing? What else have you been able to gather from your sources? And can you just, throw more light on the provisions of law under which the arrest has been made by the Scotland Yard?
Yes. Please, let's just also remind us that there is no comparison between the two cases, but there was an extradition request for Iqbal Mirchi as well, if you remember. Yes. And he was caught in a very small family brawl and was brought into the court. And despite the fact that all the extradition requests were there, he was only the charge was the charge that he was voting for in the court for was dealt with and nothing else. So we must never forget that. Despite the fact that India is wanting them, unless India moves on their own back, I don't think he will be, as I said before, charged or dealt with in the crimes that he did before in India. Now, as far as money laundering case is concerned here, it's a court hearing. We will get to know more as I'm moving towards the court anyhow, of what exactly are the details of this money laundering arrest and who has made it and who has moved it. And we'll be done soon, filling you in with all the details.
I just also want to understand from you, Lavina, that Interpol had even instructed the Enforcement Directorate and had taken objection to, their demand for a red corner notice against Vijay Mallya, saying that there was not enough evidence to issue a red corner notice against the businessman. What happened thereafter? Do we have any more information if there was further push by the Enforcement Directorate to ensure that there is a red corner notice against him?
I'm sorry, I'll have to repeat the question once more.
No, I was just talking about the red corner notice against Mr. Mallya, with Interpol seeking more information and evidence for them to, issue a red corner notice against him.
Are you asking for more evidence to ensure that there is a red corner notice can be issued?
Right. And also, Lavina, there were many times in the past when you tried to establish contact with Vijay Mallya. How was, that time? Can you just take us through those moments when you went to his official, to his residence in London, when you did try to speak to the neighbours out there? Where has he been all this while?
Vijay Mallya in the beginning, when he escaped out of India to the UK, and when we finally find out his residence, the huge estate in Kingfisher, and also behind Madame Tussauds in London, I did follow him and the story for a very long time. In the beginning, the guards and every security people were not so attuned to the fact that many people are looking for him, and so therefore they did come out and speak to us and tell them that he's not there or whatever, no comments. But over a period of time, I think even the staff got used to the fact that he's been sought after by the media for something. And Vijay Mallya over a period of time has come up with various videos that Siddharth had put up or something. So he did live his life as normal as usual. But for the past few months, we have seen a little bit of quiet time with him, except when he went for his Formula One, of course. So it seems for us that he is leading a life of a normal person, and to a great extent the way he wanted to, but not completely. I did get a sense that he can't and is not able to lead a completely normal life. There is stress and theme of this entire issue hanging. And over the past, when the India and UK relationship seems to be strengthening a little bit more, with both the prime ministers visiting either of the countries, more extradition requests being granted, I have a sense that this Vijay Mallya case will be like a Lalit Modi case, and it could lead up to some kind of a conclusion. Whether this arrest is step towards it, we can't do all.
Okay, Lavina, just stay with me. Let me just get in Lord Meghna Desai also now into the conversations. Big news coming in there. Vijay Mallya's arrest, who has been accused of defaulting on loan worth crores of rupees. What do we make of this arrest by Scotland Yard? What can India do about this? How does it strengthen its case for him to be brought back to India and face the courts here?
I think it's because India has done a lot, especially Arun Jaitley, that Scotland Yard has arrested Vijay Mallya at all. It would not have happened otherwise. There's been a lot of high-level diplomacy between the two governments and personal intervention on part of Arun Jaitley. After all, Arun Jaitley is also a very, very good lawyer, so he knew how to make the case. And I think the government of UK has agreed now to let the legal proceedings open against Vijay Mallya. It is not just certain that he will be extradited, but the chances are better now than there were ever before.
And how does it make the chances better for India, sir? Because India has been, reiterating is demand, its need to deport him back to India because he owes a whopping amount to a consortium of banks in the country.
Owing a whopping amount is not a good enough ground for extraditing anybody.
Okay.
In UK law, even terrorists accused of murder have not been able to be extradited.
But there are charges of money laundering also against him, sir.
I know. See, I know what charges there are. What I'm trying to point out, the UK law on Human Rights Convention is so strong that you have to do more than just say, oh, this man is a thief or a crook. So I think it will go through the courts. I hope it doesn't take very long. But at least the process has started. Now, whether he is deported or extradited is a technical issue on which I cannot comment. But at least the process has started, and we are farther now than we have ever been before in the last 2-3 years.
Sir, that's an important point that you make. Here's a person who also faces several arrest warrants. I want to understand from you the UK laws. So will they be investigating all of those charges made against him by India? Then what can we expect? I mean, how does the process go from here post his arrest?
I presume India will ask for the extradition of Vijay Mallya, and the court will have to judge that he will get a fair trial wherever he goes. That is one of the conditions under human rights law, and that there is a case. They don't have to completely prove everything, but the court will have to judge the gravity of the charges, and it will look at what kind of trial he will face in India, and then decide whether he should be extradited or not. As I said, we have had known terrorists living in UK who have been, we haven't been able to extradite them. So it is not something special against India if Vijay Mallya escapes extradition. But there is a point I want to make.
Yes,
because of Brexit and because UK is in a considerably weaker position and needs India, that this has happened. I think this shows that India has a good bargaining power vis-a-vis UK.
All right, Lord Meghna Desai there. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have the lawyer representing the Enforcement Directorate, Mr. Hiten Vengaunkar. Hiten, thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm just being told that the line got disconnected, but we are going to get back to him. We are going to find out more about the charges that he faced and the case that the ED had made against Vijay Mallya. Viren Singh Gunawat is also joining us now. Viren, our correspondent who has been tracking this case so closely. Viren, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Interpol turn down ED's request for issuing a red corner notice against him, telling them to, gather more evidence to prove, their demand for an RCN against Vijay Mallya?
No, that's true, Avantika, but there's another issue here, because just a few minutes back I spoke to Hiten Venigaonkar, the advocate in the Council for Enforcement Director. They are a bit confused for a reason, because there were two non-bailable warrants against Vijay Mallya, one from CBI and another from Enforcement Directorate, and that's what the ED Council are a bit confused on which non-bailable warrant he has been arrested. And if it has been by CBI, then if it will take at least 4 to 5 days to get him extradited and make him come to the India, and in which custody he will go first, whether CBI or he would be taken to Mumbai and being produced to the special PMLA court where the non-bailable warrant had been issued on the request by ED. So definitely there's a bit of confusion, or some clarity is needed on which non-bailable warrant has been arrested. But yes, there were two cases from CBI and ED as well. Back to you.